Welcome to Lifestyle Solopreneur, the community for entrepreneurs who put lifestyle first. Join your host, Flavia Barris, as she interviews successful lifestyle solopreneurs and shares ideas to help you find the perfect balance between lifestyle, business, and self. Flavia is an attorney, marketing expert, and founder of several online academies. She's been featured in major media, including BBC World News, The Wall Street Journal, The New York Post, ESPN Television, and more. Join us for this episode of Lifestyle Solopreneur. Hey, Lifestyle Solopreneurs. Today we get to speak with Tiffany Rosik. She's the CEO of TGR Management Consulting and a trusted advisor to Fortune 1000 companies. She tackles complex projects by fostering high-performance teams that deliver results. Tiffany is passionate about helping women achieve their full workplace potential by serving as a mentor, coach, and leader for them. Her book, titled That's Not the Help I Need, bridges the theory-practice gap, empowering women to thrive in the real world. Welcome to the show, Tiffany.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
It's awesome to have you here. I just love hearing stories like yours because I know you've done the corporate thing. You're now a solopreneur. I want to hear a little bit about how you bridged that gap. How did you get here?
Oh, I love telling the story. So I like to tell folks that I grew up on the software side and technology, primarily in healthcare, bringing forward all those solutions like EHRs, EMRs, e-prescribing, all the things that we're used to today when we walk into a doctor's office. And at one point, I was working for a consulting company. And working in a consulting company is a little bit different than working in an organization. So a consulting week expects about 45 to 50 hours a week of your time. And they're expecting that 40 of those hours are going to be billable to a client. So it's a little bit, it can be in a very intense environment. Many consulting opportunities require travel. And I was at a point in my life when I was working for this consulting company where I had two kids that were in grade school. They were just starting into sports. And so the demands on my time were increasing. And I hit a point, an inflection point with this particular company where they were closing the line of business that I was working in, that I was passionate about. And they offered me an opportunity in a different line of business that I knew nothing about. And I would essentially be starting from the bottom, really learning the space, being that new kid on the block in that particular industry. And when you're a consultant, you don't really want to be the new kid on the block. They're expecting you to come with knowledge and experience and being that authority in the room, if you will. And they made a decision that was not about me. And I made a decision that was about me. So I said no to that opportunity, which when I said no, I knew that would ultimately put me on a layoff list. And so the next time that company went to do layoffs, I showed up on that list. And that was that point at which I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to try something different. And that led me down the path of starting my own consulting company.
And so are you in that same field that you were? So did you stick to the same industry and type of consulting? You just do it now for yourself as your own boss instead of doing it for a company, or did you go in a different direction?
I'm doing the same type of consulting, but it's not industry specific. So my company focuses on helping medium-sized companies fill the gap between operations and technology, marry those two together. A lot of organizations struggle with when they put the technology in, they don't always think about the operations behind it or modify the operations to support the technology, or they have the vice versa challenge. They have very intensive operations and they don't know how to adapt those operations with technology. So that's really where we support, and we're industry agnostic because the challenges they experience are the same. And I actually have a team now. I've got a team of about 5 people that I work with. And our skills vary from being experts in project management to experts in security, IT security, cybersecurity, and business systems analysts. And so that's what we bring to the table for all of those companies, regardless of what space.
I find it so interesting when people start off in that corporate mentality, right? You report to people. And then once you go out on your own, you still report to people, but now you really only report to your clients versus reporting both to your clients and also like upper management. So, what are some of the surprises you've had along the way and some of the downsides of having gone independent versus some of the benefits? Because it's not always a fairy tale. So, some people may actually opt to stay in corporate America if they hear some of the pros and cons. But give me a little bit about that because I love hearing from people who've been through it to see what those challenges were and what the pros and cons of that decision were.
Yeah. So for me, I always think of myself as being a bold person, but I found that I had to be bolder in having conversations. Right? Trying when you're selling your services, initially when you start out, you're selling yourself. And it is very awkward to sell yourself and have to repeatedly sell yourself. I think we're all in practice of interviewing and putting ourselves forward one time to get that one job in that one company. And then after that, our experience in the company may help promote us and move us forward. But to have to go out every day and put a sales hat on and have to repeat your value every day to every new prospect that you have. And in some cases, it doesn't resonate, or you hear no, or they just don't, maybe you're not using the right words to demonstrate your value. It's really hard to do. And it takes some self confidence and a little bit of that. Okay, I'm going to pick myself up by my bootstraps today and dust myself off, and we're going to do this again tomorrow, and I'm going to try it differently tomorrow.
Right. No, definitely. Go on.
And then I think the second part of it is the math problem that we all think about because we all need to make money, we all need to live, we all have house, car, rent, whatever it is, expenses that we need to pay for. So I think the hardest part for people to get past is the math problem. What is the equation that I have to put together to make the money that I need to make to sustain the life that I'm either currently living or that I ultimately want to live? And for me, it started out as an hourly rate. And I could figure out, okay, what my hourly rate was, what was the dollar amount I needed to make a month or a year to pay all the bills and have the health insurance and those things. But then after that, as I started to think a little bit bigger about the business, it was how many clients do I need to have in a calendar year to consider myself successful? And it doesn't necessarily have to be a big number. I decided pretty early on that I didn't want to empire build. I just, if I could get 6 clients a year and they could spend X number of dollars with me, then that was a good year. And that was okay.
I think there's a lot of people who don't really think of the numbers. And I don't know if it's, and you come from like the technology world, so maybe data, numbers, the math of it all makes a lot of sense or was intuitive. But I know a lot of entrepreneurs who head into it with more of a come what may, let's see what happens. Let's just, if someone says, what do you need to gross this year? They're like, just as much as I possibly can, but just not wanting to name a number. But I'm with you. I think it's actually really helpful to have goals, to have written numbers, to be able to see the math, to be able to have something to achieve, to know if you were over or under at the end of the year. So I love that. And I know you help people, you help women achieve their full potential. Talk to us a little bit about how you do that and what it is that you help them with.
So along the way, I've had a number of people informally reach out to me in mentoring situations. Right? They're just curious how I overcame a particular situation, much like the conversation we're having about how did I get started starting my own company. And I found over time that the conversations were really all of the same. There were a lot of the same questions out there. And then there was always that one question that everybody wanted to ask, but very few were bold enough to ask, which is money. How do I get more money? And to your point about having numbers, it's not always about making the most amount of money. It's about creating a situation where you are valued in different areas of your life and you can add value in different areas of your life. And I think looking at the dollars versus the value is an important conversation to have as well.
You wrote
So,
a book, which, oh, go ahead.
oh, no, go ahead.
No, you wrote a book, and I'm curious if some of what you're talking about now is in that book or if that book's on a different topic. If it's on a different topic, let's hold off and talk about the book later. But go ahead,
Yeah.
finish where you were.
So I did write a book called That's Not the Help I Need. And the intent behind the book was I kept on having similar conversations with people. So my intention was I wanted to write a book in a way that that if you had reached out to me and said, Tiffany, I have this challenging manager. They won't promote me. I really think I'm ready for the next level, and they just won't promote me. That if we went out for a cup of coffee, these are the things that I would tell you. It would be a very frank conversation around the things that I would tell you. So in my book, I am talking about being opportunistic in the workplace and in asking for work and how you go about asking for work. Performance reviews. One of the really challenging areas in performance reviews is that self-evaluation, and then understanding and interpreting when somebody else is evaluating you and what of that information is truly valuable and actionable. And then I'm also talking about how you craft your compensation conversation, right? Everybody has value that they're bringing into an organization, but if you're not putting it in the frame that the business can understand and really see that value you're bringing every day, you're going to have a hard time getting more money and asking for better compensation for the work that you're doing. So that's the sort of the breadth of the book around mentoring.
So I love hearing kind of use cases. So tell us maybe a client story. Obviously, you have to keep it anonymous, so it can't be one where someone would hear the story and go, I know who that is. But what is one of these stories of just helping somebody through a difficult and challenging issue where you were able to coach them to a result that really just changed their life, or maybe just the trajectory of their career, which can be so life-changing in and of itself?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite stories to tell is one of my clients. I got an opportunity to work closely with a woman who was driving digital transformation in this organization. And it got to a point where she really felt like she had hit her own ceiling in this company. And we're out to lunch one day, and she's telling me about how she doesn't want to leave this organization, but she feels this sense of obligation to them to finish the project that she was working on and to see it through and to make it successful. But that success would come at a cost of maybe another year or two. And she was already in a situation where she just felt like she had outgrown it, and it was just becoming challenging every day. And so we talked it through, and I said, why? Why do you feel like you need to wait and see this through and go another year or 2 years? And we talked through that. And I think women, we always want to leave things in a neat, tidy bow. We want to clean up after ourselves, right? We want to leave the space better than how we found it. And we talked through how she had already done that, how she had already tidied herself up, how she already left, how she would leave the organization better than when she found it. And just from that conversation, I was able to encourage her to take this interview opportunity. It was a long shot interview opportunity. And she did. She took it. She interviewed with them because we said, look, what's the harm? You interview, they don't like you, no big deal. You have a job. But if you interview, you love them, they love you. Now we have something. Now we have a decision to make. Now we have something to talk about and debate and consider. And fast forward 3 years, she's in this new organization, and I've just been and watched her career take off. They clearly are valuing her. They're continuing to promote her and raise her up and give her that leadership and that coaching and those opportunities to where she's headed to a C-suite opportunity. I know that's in her future.
That's amazing. And so what's next for you? You've been on this journey of your own. You went from working for others. Now you are a solopreneur. You're a book author. What do you see? What are you setting your sights on as your big goals coming up?
I'm at a point in my life where I have two boys that are now in high school. I have one that will be graduating high school. And that's a really exciting time. And to be able to be present, to participate in the process of applying to colleges and selecting colleges and visiting colleges, right? That's really important to me. I won't get those out. That time doesn't come back. So from a personal perspective, the book had great timing because it allowed me to focus on writing the book. As I look forward into 2025, I think there's more work to be done in my business. And again, pursuing new opportunities with the business and securing client work for my team. And then I'm looking to take on some speaking opportunities with the book. But really in 2025, I'm looking at investing in my family too, and in appreciating where we're at as a family and sending our first son off to college.
Oh, so much exciting stuff in the works for you. What kind of clients are you seeking? So if you could describe an ideal client, Who would that client be? Because maybe that client is listening now.
Great question. And thank you for that opportunity to present my organization. So, as I said, we focus on helping medium sized businesses. And what we define medium sized businesses as companies that have somewhere over 100 employees that are maybe stuck in a transition state where they know they need to scale, they know they need to use technology to get there. They may not know how to use technology to get there. And we love to come in and support those organizations, talk about options, talk about opportunities. And I would say in about 50% of the opportunities that we see, companies have the technology that they need. They just don't know the next steps to take to level up to get there.
And so, how does somebody connect with you, learn more about you? Where is your book available? Give us all the details.
All the things. To connect with me, the best place is always on LinkedIn. I'm active on LinkedIn from a professional perspective, and it's just LinkedIn. You can search for Tiffany Rosik, and you'll find me. From a book perspective, we actually have a website stood up called TiffanyRosik.com. So we're trying to keep it easy here. So you can find more about me, speaking opportunities, more about the book at TiffanyRosik.com. And I would, like I said, I would really encourage folks to connect with me on LinkedIn.
Tiffany, from one working mom to another, I just want to say you're doing it right. In my opinion, you really are finding that perfect balance between being there to go tour colleges with your kids, but also leading the successful team and helping so many people through your coaching, your consulting, your mentorship, everything you do. I just want to say kudos to you. I admire you so much. I think you are just an example of someone who's truly doing it all. So, Tiffany, thank you for being on the show and sharing your story with us.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate those words. That just makes me feel so good. Thank you.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, and if you leave a review on iTunes, I promise I will read every single review. If you know someone who makes a full-time living from part-time work, and maybe this is you, please visit lifestylesolopreneur.com to nominate a guest or to nominate yourself. Because remember this, money doesn't buy happiness, but money in the hands of a happy person, there is no greater tool.
Today's episode was brought to you by the Get Shift Done program. It's a lifestyle-changing online class to help you define your business and lifestyle ambitions, and to set goals in a way you've never experienced before. This class will 10x your daily productivity with methods that will blow your mind. And if you use the coupon code podcast, the class tuition is 99% off. Visit GetShiftDone.com to enroll today.